The mocking begins. The vast command center of the alien warship was alive with activity. It was the heart of the invasion fleet, a place where the most skilled military minds in the galaxy came together. Alien officers stood at their stations, analyzing their weapons, preparing for the greatest battle they had ever waged. And at the center of it all stood General Vorn, the leader of the invading fleet. His tall, armored figure towered over his subordinates, and his icy blue eyes scanned the galaxy map that hovered in front of him. "Is this the human we've been hearing so much about?" General Vorn sneered as he looked at the image on the screen. A human pilot. One man among millions of soldiers across the galaxy, yet this one human had earned some reputation. His name, Captain John Carter. The room went silent. The alien officers exchanged glances, uncertain of how to respond to their leader's sudden question. They had all heard of this human before, of course. Carter had earned a reputation as one of the best pilots humanity had to offer. But to them, that was nothing more than a myth. A story told to amuse themselves. Humans were weak. Their technology was primitive. Their armies were laughable. "I heard this human pilot is supposed to be the best Earth has," said an officer, her voice laced with doubt. "Best? Ha! He's nothing but a relic of a dead world," General Vorn scoffed. "Let's be honest, there's no way this human can stand up to the might of our fleet. Their technology is centuries behind ours, their ships are fragile, and their soldiers." He chuckled. "They're nothing but children playing with weapons they don't understand." The alien officers laughed along with him. They could hardly believe that such a primitive species had even gotten this far. They'd heard that the humans were now a space-faring species, but to them, it seemed absurd. How could these fragile beings, with their ancient technology, ever challenge the great alien race? General Vorn's eyes gleamed with amusement. "I want this human pilot on the front lines. Let's see what he can do when faced with real warriors, real technology. I doubt he'll last 5 minutes against us. We'll crush him just like we've crushed the rest of their pathetic forces." His officers nodded in agreement. The arrogance in their voices was clear. They saw humanity as nothing more than an obstacle, one that would be quickly eliminated in the greater galactic war. General Vorn was certain that once the human pilot entered the battlefield, he would be torn apart by the might of the alien forces. But what they didn't know was that Captain John Carter was not like the others. He wasn't some faceless soldier following orders. Carter was special. He had fought in countless battles and survived situations that should have killed him. He had been tested again and again, and he had always come out on top. But that was a secret the aliens didn't know yet. At Earth's command center, Carter stood in front of a large screen, preparing for the mission. His team was ready. His ship, the Sovereign, was prepped for battle. It was a human-made vessel, old by today's standards but strong and dependable. He had faith in it, just as he had faith in his crew. But the general's mocking words echoed in Carter's mind. Relic. Weak. Nothing but children. For a brief moment, Carter wondered if he could truly pull off the impossible. He had heard the rumors of the alien fleet. Massive, advanced, and deadly. Their ships were like nothing humanity had ever seen before. Yet despite all of that, Carter was not afraid. He had faced impossible odds before, and each time he had survived. Each time he had won. The mission ahead wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about proving humanity's strength, not just to the aliens, but to everyone who had ever underestimated them. Carter clenched his fists. He couldn't let their laughter shake him. He had to prove them wrong. As the countdown to launch began, Carter checked the status of his ship once more. The crew was ready. He was ready. The alien fleet was out there, waiting. General Vorn had no idea what he was about to face. Carter would show him just how dangerous humanity could be. The engines of the Sovereign roared to life, shaking the control room. Carter's mind focused as he climbed into the cockpit. He thought of the alien general, laughing at him, mocking him and his species. Those laughs would soon turn to silence. The Sovereign lifted off from Earth's surface, rising into the dark void of space. As Carter looked out the viewport, the stars seemed distant, cold. But he felt the fire of humanity's spirit burning within him. They had come this far, against all odds. They had built an empire in the stars, and now they would show the galaxy that they would not be so easily defeated. The alien general and his officers had no idea what was coming. They thought they were facing a weak, inexperienced human. But soon, they would learn that underestimating humans could be the greatest mistake they ever made. Carter's mission had just begun, and the aliens would regret laughing at him and his people. The first strike. The moment Captain John Carter's ship, Sovereign, broke through Earth's atmosphere, a strange calm settled over him. The harsh roar of the engines faded into the background as his mind sharpened. Out in the cold void of space, there was nothing but the mission ahead, and the mocking words of General Vorn still ringing in his ears. A relic. Weak. They stung like an open wound, but Carter refused to let them control him. He had something far more powerful than their arrogance, his resolve. His crew was silent as they manned their stations, each of them fully aware of the stakes. They had been briefed on the alien threat. The sheer might of the alien fleet was incomprehensible. Still, there was a quiet confidence in the air. Humanity had endured against overwhelming odds before, and now they had no intention of being treated as less than their enemies. Carter's hands gripped the controls of the Sovereign as he maneuvered his ship through the stars. His senses were heightened. He could feel every shift of the ship's movements, every twist and turn. His heart beat steadily, and his mind was focused. The Sovereign was an older model, but it had been maintained with pride. The sleek design, though aged, held many hidden surprises that Carter and his crew knew how to exploit. A beep sounded in his cockpit, and a holographic display popped up, showing a flicker of activity. Ahead of them, the first alien ships came into view. Massive warships that dwarfed his own vessel. They were powerful, the pride of the alien fleet. General Vorn had underestimated him, but now it was time to show the invaders just what humanity was capable of. Captain, his first officer, Lieutenant Anya Vega, spoke in a calm but serious tone. "We're about to enter their weapons range." Carter nodded. His mind was already planning their approach. "Hold steady. We know their tactics. We've trained for this." His voice was steady, betraying none of the tension he was feeling inside. His crew trusted him. They believed in the human spirit, just as he did. In the distance, the alien ships began to take shape, their eerie, angular forms standing out against the backdrop of stars. They were sleek, fast, and devastatingly powerful. A sense of dread swept through the crew, but Carter refused to let fear take hold. He had seen worse. He had fought in battles where the odds were stacked higher than this, and he had come out on top every single time. The alien ships were on a direct course for Earth, and they were quickly closing the distance. Carter's eyes narrowed as he scanned the ships, calculating his next move. He had to act quickly. The element of surprise was humanity's greatest advantage, and it was slipping away with every passing second. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Carter ordered. "We're going to hit them where it hurts." Lieutenant Vega immediately input the commands, and the Sovereign shot forward in a sudden burst of speed. Zigzagging through the cold expanse of space, the alien ships fired their weapons, powerful blasts of energy that lanced out toward the human ship. But Carter was ready. He was faster. He had anticipated their move, and he executed his counter-strategy flawlessly. A bright explosion lit up the dark void as a nearby alien ship was struck by one of their own missiles, fired in an attempt to target the Sovereign. The blast rattled the human ship, but Carter kept the controls steady, eyes locked on the alien vessels. How did he? A voice from the alien fleet murmured over the intercom, disbelief clear in their tone. Carter's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. The first move had been made. The human pilot was not the weakling they thought he was. The Sovereign was small and nimble compared to the alien behemoths, but it could still pack a punch. "Lieutenant Vega, deploy the drones," Carter said. His ship's defensive drones, though small, could pack a punch. They were humanity's secret weapon, designed to cause chaos and disrupt the enemy's focus. One drone wouldn't stand a chance against the alien warships, but a swarm of them could do significant damage. The drones were launched into space, tiny specks against the vastness of the galaxy. But as they spread out, the drones became a formidable nuisance for the alien fleet. Their rapid, unpredictable movements threw off the alien ship's targeting systems, forcing them to waste precious energy firing at decoys. "Captain, we're taking fire," cried one of the crew members. Carter's eyes darted to the screen. The Sovereign was taking damage, but the ship's hull held strong. It wasn't indestructible, but it was tough. His ship wasn't just any relic. It was the symbol of humanity's resilience. "We're not backing down now," Carter yelled. His voice rang with defiance. "Charge the main weapons. We're going on the offensive." As the Sovereign charged into the heart of the alien fleet, the crew braced themselves for what was to come. The atmosphere inside the ship grew tense as the crew prepared to face the overwhelming force of the alien invaders. But Carter was determined. The alien general may have mocked him, but now it was time to show him the true power of humanity. The first strike had been a success. Now, Carter would prove that humans were not to be underestimated. The Sovereign and its crew were far more than just relics. They were a force to be reckoned with. The roar of humanity. The first clash between the Sovereign and the alien fleet had been intense, but it was only the beginning. The alien ships, massive and advanced, had been caught off guard by the rapid and unpredictable maneuvers of the human vessel. However, they quickly adapted, regrouping and counterattacking with fierce determination. The battle that had started with humans on the defensive was now shifting in their favor. Carter's hands were steady on the controls as he focused on keeping the Sovereign in motion, avoiding the incoming fire. The ship's hull groaned under the strain of constant impacts, but it held together. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as the crew worked together like a well-oiled machine. Despite the odds, they were pushing back. "Captain, we've got an incoming capital ship." Lieutenant Vega's voice rang out over the intercom, the urgency clear. Carter's eyes narrowed. The capital ship, a massive vessel with devastating firepower, was heading straight for them. The sight of it made the blood in his veins run cold, but he refused to show fear. He had to act fast. If they didn't take down the capital ship, the rest of the alien fleet would come down on them like a ton of bricks. "Prepare the heavy laser cannons," Carter ordered, his voice calm but firm. "We're going for the heart of their fleet." He could hear the tension in his crew's movements as they activated the heavy weapons. The Sovereign wasn't designed for head-on combat against such massive ships, but the alien fleet had underestimated one thing: humanity's ingenuity. "Lock on to their central engine," Carter instructed, eyes locked onto the display. "If we take that down, the entire fleet will fall into disarray." The Sovereign rocked again as another blast hit the shields, but Carter didn't flinch. He knew they couldn't afford to let up. The crew continued to fire on the smaller alien ships, buying them the precious time they needed to target the larger vessel. The tension was palpable in the control room. Carter's heart beat in his chest as the countdown on the screen showed the distance closing between the Sovereign and the alien capital ship. His crew, despite the chaos outside, were focused and ready for action. 3 seconds to lock, Vega reported. The hairs on the back of Carter's neck stood up. The moment of truth was fast approaching. The crew braced themselves. Carter gave a single nod to Vega. "Fire." A massive beam of energy shot from the Sovereign's heavy laser cannons, slicing through the vacuum of space like a blade. The blast hit the alien ship's engine, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then the explosion came, brilliant, fiery, and beautiful. The alien capital ship's engine core detonated in a spectacular burst of light, and the shockwave rippled through space, taking out nearby ships in its wake. "We did it," Vega shouted, her voice full of triumph. But Carter wasn't celebrating. He knew that this battle was far from over. The alien fleet was now in chaos, their once precise formations falling apart. However, the remaining ships were not retreating. They were preparing for a final assault. "We need to regroup," Carter said, his tone cold and focused. "They're not backing down. Get us out of here before they can bring more reinforcements." The Sovereign veered sharply to the side, avoiding a retaliatory blast from one of the remaining alien ships. The crew worked furiously to maintain control of the ship, their actions fluid and synchronized. It was moments like these that made Carter proud to lead them. He could feel the trust they placed in him, and he couldn't afford to let them down now. As they pulled away from the battle zone, Carter knew that this first victory was only the beginning. The alien forces had seen what humanity was capable of, but they weren't about to just let it slide. They would regroup and retaliate, but so would humanity. In the distance, the rest of the alien fleet began to form new battle strategies. They had underestimated the Sovereign once, but now they knew better. The true test was about to begin. "Captain, we're picking up a signal from Earth," Vega said, her voice calm but laced with tension. "They're asking for updates on our status." Carter let out a long breath, wiping the sweat from his brow. He looked to the view screen, where Earth hung in the distance, peaceful and serene. He had to protect it. He had to protect humanity. "Tell them we're still in the fight," Carter said, "and we're not backing down." The Sovereign powered up its engines, and the crew prepared for the next wave. They had dealt a blow to the alien invaders, but now they had to finish what they started. The alien general had laughed at the weak human pilot, but now Carter and his crew were showing them the full power of humanity's resolve. It was a force the galaxy had never seen before, and it was about to shake the foundation of everything the invaders thought they knew. In Part 3, the Sovereign strikes a powerful blow against the alien fleet by taking down a capital ship. The human crew's tactical skills and bravery begin to turn the tide in the battle. But Carter knows this is only the beginning, and the alien forces will not back down easily. The crew's resolve is tested as they prepare for what's to come, knowing that the fate of Earth and humanity hangs in the balance. "You said." The tide turns. The explosion of the alien capital ship had sent shockwaves across the battlefield. Humanity's unlikely victory sent a ripple through the galaxy, but the aliens weren't ones to give up easily. As the Sovereign retreated to regroup, the remaining alien ships didn't scatter in fear. They doubled down, preparing for a massive retaliation. The battle raged on. The vacuum of space echoed with the sounds of weapons fire, blasts, and the hum of the Sovereign's engines as it darted through the chaos. Carter's grip on the control panel tightened. His mind raced, calculating their next move. They couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later, the aliens would close in, and then they'd be out of options. "Captain, we've got company." Vega's voice cut through the tension in the control room. "They've regrouped and are coming in fast." Carter's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the view screen. He could see the alien ships forming up into a new formation. It was a standard maneuver, designed to corner and trap their target. It was clear the aliens had learned from their earlier mistake. "We can't outrun them forever," Carter muttered, more to himself than anyone else. His mind churned with possible solutions. The Sovereign wasn't the fastest ship in the galaxy, but it was agile, and its human crew had proven themselves resourceful. He had to make them think differently. He had to turn the tables once again. "Lieutenant Vega," Carter began, his voice steady, "prepare the EMP charge. We're going to hit them where it hurts." Vega looked back at him, a hint of disbelief in her eyes. "EMP, Captain. You want to disable their ships?" "That's right," Carter confirmed. "If we can shut down their engines, we might be able to break their formation and make our escape." Vega nodded. She trusted her captain's instincts and quickly relayed the order. The Sovereign was already equipped with an electromagnetic pulse device, but it had never been used in combat. It was a risky move, but Carter knew there was no other option. This was their chance to gain an advantage. As the alien fleet closed in, the Sovereign executed a sharp turn, diving toward the center of the enemy formation. The alien ships attempted to track their movement, but the human ship's unpredictable path made it difficult for the invaders to lock on. "EMP ready, Captain," Vega said. Her voice was tense, but she was focused. The crew had trained for this moment, and now they were ready to put everything they had into it. "Do it." The pulse of energy shot out from the Sovereign, a burst of electromagnetic waves that rippled through space. For a split second, it felt as if time itself had frozen. The alien ships, massive, towering machines, shuddered in place. Their engines sputtered, then completely cut off. For a brief moment, the vast battlefield was filled with the eerie silence of deactivated alien technology. The crew of the Sovereign watched with bated breath as the EMP took effect. The alien fleet was now stranded, their ships drifting helplessly in space. The humans had done the impossible. They had crippled their enemies without firing a single shot. "We've got them, Captain." Vega cheered, her voice full of excitement. But Carter wasn't celebrating. He knew this victory wouldn't last long. The aliens were resilient. Even without their engines, they still had powerful weapons. And there was still the question of what the alien general would do next. "Stay sharp," Carter ordered. "They're not out of the fight yet." The Sovereign's crew quickly launched a series of smaller, high-speed drones, each equipped with powerful weapons to pick off the immobilized ships one by one. These drones were humanity's trump card, designed to strike quickly and precisely. With the alien fleet's engines disabled, the drones could now pick their targets with deadly accuracy. The first shot was fired. A drone hit one of the alien vessels directly, its weapon cutting through the hull with ease. The ship exploded in a bright flash, followed by the destruction of several others in a chain reaction. The remaining alien ships were picked off one by one. It wasn't long before the battlefield was filled with the remnants of the once mighty alien fleet. But even as the Sovereign and its drones laid waste to the alien ships, Carter remained vigilant. He knew this wasn't the end. The alien general was still out there, and he wasn't one to back down easily. Carter had seen enough in his years of military service to know that the invaders would regroup and come back with a vengeance. It was only a matter of time before the true scale of the alien war machine was revealed. "Captain," Vega said, her voice cutting through his thoughts, "we've cleared the area. The remaining ships are retreating." Carter nodded, but his eyes never left the view screen. The Sovereign's crew had achieved the impossible, but the war was far from over. The aliens would be back, stronger and more determined than ever. They had underestimated humanity, but now they knew just how powerful they were. The battle for the future of Earth and the galaxy was only just beginning. The Sovereign's engines hummed as the ship began to pull away from the remnants of the alien fleet. Carter turned to his crew, his eyes filled with resolve. "This isn't over," he said, his voice low but filled with purpose. "We've won this battle, but the war is still ahead of us, and we're ready for it." As the ship set its course for Earth, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The human race had been underestimated for far too long, and now the galaxy would learn to fear them. The general's fury. The Sovereign's victory over the alien fleet echoed throughout the galaxy, a triumph that sent shockwaves all the way to the heart of the invaders' empire. The enemies had never expected such a fierce resistance from humans, and their defeat raised more questions than answers. Who were these humans? And why had they remained hidden for so long? Back aboard the Sovereign, Captain Carter stood before his crew, his face grave. He knew the victory was only temporary. The alien general had witnessed his forces fall, but that wasn't the end. The general was known throughout the galaxy as a ruthless, strategic genius, one who would stop at nothing to avenge his losses. "We've won a battle," Carter said, his voice steady but firm. "But the war is far from over. The general will be angry. And when he's angry, things get dangerous." Vega nodded, her face serious. "He'll come for us. We need to be ready. Carter's thoughts were already on the next move. The Sovereign had done well to disable the alien fleet, but it was a temporary measure. The general would rebuild. Carter knew that the alien general's pride was just as deadly as his fleet. It wouldn't be long before the general came after humanity with a vengeance. In the heart of the alien empire, far beyond the reach of human eyes, the general seethed in his command center. His alien eyes burned with fury as he watched the recordings of his fleet's destruction. The humans had taken him by surprise, but no longer. "Prepare the fleet," the general growled to his commanders. "Those humans have proven they can fight, but they are still just ants. We will crush them." He slammed his fist onto the table, causing the room to shake with the force of his anger. His mind raced as he formulated a new strategy, one that would ensure the humans could never threaten his empire again. "They will pay for their insolence," he muttered, his eyes flashing with cold rage. "Send the word. We attack Earth. Now." Meanwhile, the Sovereign continued its course back toward Earth, the crew unsure of what awaited them. The victory had been sweet, but the bitterness of the general's retaliation was all too clear. Captain Carter knew that the next battle would be far more dangerous than the last. As the ship neared Earth's orbit, Vega's voice broke through Carter's thoughts. "Captain, we're picking up something on the scanners. It's an alien fleet, and it's huge." The tension in the control room mounted. Carter's eyes widened as he analyzed the readings. This was no small force. It was the full might of the alien general's fleet, and it was heading straight for Earth. "Red alert," Carter shouted. "All hands, battle stations, prepare for combat." The Sovereign's crew scrambled into action. They had barely returned home, and now they were faced with the most formidable enemy they had ever encountered. The alien fleet was approaching, and there was no time to waste. The battle would be nothing like the last. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, the ultimate test of humanity's resolve. Earth had been kept safe for millennia, hidden away from the rest of the galaxy, but that peace was about to shatter. The Sovereign positioned itself between the alien fleet and Earth, ready to defend the planet at all costs. Carter looked at his crew, knowing that the fate of their home world rested in their hands. "This is it," Carter said, his voice unwavering. "We fight, or we fall." As the alien fleet came into view, a vast array of ships that seemed to stretch endlessly, the crew of the Sovereign stood united. They had proven themselves once before, but now they would face an overwhelming force. Carter's heart pounded, but he knew they had one thing the aliens didn't: the spirit to fight and the will to survive. The first shots rang out, signaling the beginning of the largest and most decisive battle humanity had ever faced. The Sovereign fired its weapons, and the rest of Earth's forces joined the fray. But despite their firepower, the alien fleet was far superior in number and firepower. The crew of the Sovereign fought with everything they had, but it quickly became clear that they were outmatched. The alien ships swarmed in, their weapons devastating. One by one, human ships were destroyed, their hulls punctured by alien fire. "We can't hold them off much longer," Vega shouted over the chaos. Carter's mind raced. They had to find a way to win this fight. There was no other choice. He looked at the massive fleet closing in, then glanced back at his crew. Every soldier, every pilot, every member of the crew was fighting with everything they had. But it might not be enough. Then Carter remembered something: a secret weapon. A weapon that had been hidden on the Sovereign for emergencies. A last resort weapon. "Vega, initiate the Omega Strike," Carter ordered. Vega hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The Omega Strike was a last resort weapon, a devastating pulse that could tear through enemy lines. It had never been used in battle before, but now it was humanity's only hope. The Omega Strike charge, and the Sovereign released a massive pulse of energy, tearing through the alien fleet. The shockwave of power was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The alien ships were torn apart in an instant, their hulls disintegrating under the intense force of the blast. The Omega strike had turned the tide of the battle in an instant. The alien fleet was decimated, leaving only a few straggling ships to retreat into the darkness. The crew of the Sovereign breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that humanity had won, for now. But Carter knew one thing. The alien general would never forget this defeat. He would be back, and the next battle would be even worse. The war was far from over, and humanity had made its mark on the galaxy. But the cost of victory had been high, and the price for peace was steep. As the battle ended, Carter turned his gaze toward Earth, knowing that the future would be filled with even greater challenges. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but at what cost? In Part 5, the alien general retaliates with a massive fleet, targeting Earth. However, humanity, led by the crew of the Sovereign, delivers a devastating counterattack using the Omega Strike, a secret weapon. The battle is won, but Carter knows the fight is far from over. The alien general will return, and humanity must be prepared for whatever comes next. The price of victory. In the aftermath of the battle, the vast expanse of space around Earth was littered with the wreckage of destroyed alien ships. The once formidable fleet of the alien general had been utterly decimated by the Omega Strike, but at a great cost. The Sovereign had taken severe damage, its hull cracked, and its weapons systems drained. The crew was exhausted, their spirits battered from the long, grueling battle. Captain Carter stood at the command deck, his eyes gazing out at the debris floating in space. The sight of it was bittersweet. Humanity had won, but the victory had been hard-earned, and it felt hollow. The alien general's forces had been driven back, but Carter knew the battle wasn't truly over. There were still unanswered questions, and more challenges to come. "Captain," Vega called, breaking his thoughts. She was standing by the communication station, her face grim. "We've received a message from the alien fleet. It's a warning." Carter turned to face her. "What's it say?" Vega hesitated, then relayed the message. "You may have won today, humans, but we are not defeated. We will return, and when we do, you will be destroyed." The words hung in the air, a chilling reminder that the alien general was not one to accept defeat easily. He would regroup, rebuild, and return with even more firepower. Carter knew that it wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. The general would not stop until humanity had been wiped from the galaxy. "Great," Carter muttered under his breath, rubbing his face in frustration. "Just what we needed." Vega continued. "We've also received a report from the other human fleets. The damage from the Omega Strike has been severe. We've lost several ships, and the fleet is scattered. If the general attacks again, we'll be severely outnumbered." "Not if we can help it," Carter replied, determination setting in. "We need to rebuild, and we need to do it fast. Prepare to send word to Earth's governments. We need every resource we can get." Vega nodded, immediately starting the process of sending out the communication. She knew the urgency of the situation. Earth had won a battle, but the war was far from over. The alien general's forces were not easily deterred, and the next attack would likely come sooner than anyone expected. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the alien general sat in the dark confines of his war room, stewing in his anger. His commanders stood at attention, awaiting his orders. The general's fists were clenched, his sharp alien features twisted into a snarl. His defeat at the hands of the Sovereign had wounded his pride. More than that, it had humiliated him. "They think they've won," the general hissed, his voice filled with venom. "But they don't understand the true power of the fleet we command. This was just a setback. I will crush them. I will destroy them all." One of his commanders spoke up cautiously. "Sir, our fleet is scattered, and the humans used a devastating weapon. We should regroup before." "I said no." The general slammed his fist down onto the console, causing sparks to fly. "We will attack again now. The Sovereign is weak, and I will make them regret crossing me." The commander hesitated but said nothing further. It was clear that the general had already made up his mind. The invasion of Earth would continue, no matter the cost. Back on Earth, Captain Carter's team was working tirelessly to repair the Sovereign and prepare for the inevitable return of the alien fleet. The crew had learned a harsh lesson. The galaxy was not their ally, and their survival would depend on their ability to fight smarter, faster, and harder than ever before. Carter sat in his quarters, poring over the latest intel from the front lines. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were on borrowed time. The victory they'd achieved had been temporary, a mere blip in the grand scheme of the war. As he stared out the window, the vastness of space seemed to mock him, reminding him that humanity was still so small compared to the galaxy's true power. "We can't afford to be caught off guard again," he muttered to himself. Suddenly, the door to his quarters slid open. Vega entered, her expression serious. "We've received an update from Earth's leadership," she said, holding out a datapad. "They want to meet. They're asking for your input on the next steps." Carter took the pad and scanned the message. Earth's leaders were requesting a global meeting to discuss the next phase of humanity's defense. They needed to know how best to prepare for the alien general's inevitable return. "This is our chance to rally the forces of Earth," Carter said, looking up at Vega. "We need to unite the galaxy's remaining human factions. If we're going to survive, we have to be stronger than ever." Vega nodded in agreement. "I'll get the communications ready. We need to act fast, Captain." As the Sovereign's crew prepared for the next steps, Carter knew that Earth had entered a new phase of its existence. They were no longer just a small, isolated planet in the universe. They had shown the galaxy that they were capable of incredible things, and they had made enemies of those who could destroy them. But humanity's resolve was unbreakable. They had faced overwhelming odds before, and they had prevailed. Now it was time to come together and prepare for the fight that would determine whether they would continue to exist or fall to the forces of the alien empire. The cost of victory was high, but Carter knew that Earth could, and would, pay the price. The next battle would define the future of humanity. In Part 6, the alien general begins to recover from his defeat and prepares for an even more aggressive attack on Earth. Back on Earth, Captain Carter and his crew work to rebuild and prepare for the upcoming conflict. Humanity unites to face the next stage of the war, knowing that the price of victory has been steep, but that survival is the only option. The final stand. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the galaxy grew ever tighter. Captain Carter and his crew worked tirelessly to repair the Sovereign, but the threat of the alien general's return loomed large. Earth's governments had united in a way never seen before. The human race, for the first time, was truly unified under one banner. Their survival depended on it. The Sovereign had been rebuilt with the help of engineers from Earth's most advanced military fleets. However, the ship wasn't the only thing being upgraded. The remaining human forces had begun to assemble a new fleet of ships, each one enhanced with technologies from across the Earth's resources. The Omega Strike had proved that the humans could strike with devastating force, and they intended to do it again, but this time with even more precision. Inside the war room aboard the Sovereign, Carter stood before a large holographic map of the galaxy. The blue lights illuminated his face, showing the weariness in his eyes. He had not slept well since the last battle, haunted by the knowledge that the alien general would soon return, and this time he would be prepared. "We don't have much time," Carter said, addressing the senior officers who stood around the map. "Our spies have confirmed that the alien general is amassing a new fleet. He's learned from his mistakes, and we can't afford to let him catch us off guard again." Vega, standing at his side, added, "We need to strike first. We can't let him build up the strength to overwhelm us again. The longer we wait, the more powerful his forces will get." Carter nodded. "Agreed. We have a small window of opportunity before they launch their full-scale invasion. We strike now, while they're still rebuilding. If we can hit them hard enough, we might just break their resolve before they have the chance to retaliate." The officers around the table looked at each other, silently acknowledging the weight of the decision. This mission would not be easy. It would be a desperate gamble, one that could cost them everything. But Carter's leadership had already proven itself. If there was one thing the humans had shown throughout this war, it was their resilience. They were ready to give everything for their survival. The fleet began to assemble, with ships from all corners of Earth coming together for this final stand. The massive space docks buzzed with activity as workers scrambled to get the ships ready. Captain Carter could feel the anticipation in the air. This was it, the moment of truth. As the fleet prepared to leave the safety of Earth's atmosphere, Carter stood alone on the deck of the Sovereign, looking out into the vastness of space. This would be their last chance. If they failed, humanity would be lost. But if they succeeded, they would strike a blow that would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come. "We can do this," Carter whispered to himself. "We have to." The fleet launched, hurtling through the stars toward the alien general's fleet. As they traveled, Carter's mind was focused, not on the battles they had fought, but on the battle that was about to come. He knew that in this final confrontation, humanity's fate would be decided. Hours later, the Sovereign and its fleet arrived at the alien general's last known position. The area was a sea of debris, remnants of the earlier battle. The vastness of space stretched out in every direction, but there was no sign of the enemy fleet. It was eerily quiet. "Stay alert," Carter ordered. "He's here somewhere. He won't just give up." Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a series of warning alarms. The ship's sensors had detected something massive approaching at high speed. It was the alien fleet, and it was coming in fast, with the general at its helm. The final stand. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the galaxy grew ever tighter. Captain Carter and his crew worked tirelessly to repair the Sovereign, but the threat of the alien general's return loomed large. Earth's governments had united in a way never seen before. The human race, for the first time, was truly unified under one banner. Their survival depended on it. The Sovereign had been rebuilt with the help of engineers from Earth's most advanced military fleets. However, the ship wasn't the only thing being upgraded. The remaining human forces had begun to assemble a new fleet of ships, each one enhanced with technologies from across the Earth's resources. The Omega Strike had proved that the humans could strike with devastating force, and they intended to do it again. But this time with even more precision. Inside the war room aboard the Sovereign, Carter stood before a large holographic map of the galaxy. The blue lights illuminated his face, showing the weariness in his eyes. He had not slept well since the last battle, haunted by the knowledge that the alien general would soon return, and this time he would be prepared. "We don't have much time," Carter said, addressing the senior officers who stood around the map. "Our spies have confirmed that the alien general is amassing a new fleet. He's learned from his mistakes, and we can't afford to let him catch us off guard again." Vega, standing at his side, added, "We need to strike first. We can't let him build up the strength to overwhelm us again. The longer we wait, the more powerful his forces will get." Carter nodded. "Agreed. We have a small window of opportunity before they launch their full-scale invasion. We strike now, while they're still rebuilding. If we can hit them hard enough, we might just break their resolve before they have the chance to retaliate." The officers around the table looked at each other, silently acknowledging the weight of the decision. This mission would not be easy. It would be a desperate gamble, one that could cost them everything. But Carter's leadership had already proven itself. If there was one thing the humans had shown throughout this war, it was their resilience. They were ready to give everything for their survival. The fleet began to assemble, with ships from all corners of Earth coming together for this final stand. The massive space docks buzzed with activity as workers scrambled to get the ships ready. Captain Carter could feel the anticipation in the air. This was it, the moment of truth. As the fleet prepared to leave the safety of Earth's atmosphere, Carter stood alone on the deck of the Sovereign, looking out into the vastness of space. This would be their last chance. If they failed, humanity would be lost. But if they succeeded, they would strike a blow that would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come. "We can do this," Carter whispered to himself. "We have to." The fleet launched, hurtling through the stars toward the alien general's fleet. As they traveled, Carter's mind was focused, not on the battles they had fought, but on the battle that was about to come. He knew that in this final confrontation, humanity's fate would be decided. Hours later, the Sovereign and its fleet arrived at the alien general's last known position. The area was a sea of debris, remnants of the earlier battle. The vastness of space stretched out in every direction, but there was no sign of the enemy fleet. It was eerily quiet. "Stay alert," Carter ordered. "He's here somewhere. He won't just give up." Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a series of warning alarms. The ship's sensors had detected something massive approaching at high speed. It was the alien fleet, and it was coming in fast, with the general at its helm.